Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namagranatirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunyatam Yena Tasmat Shri Gurave Namo Nipadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavad Archatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauravakarana Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, welcome to the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is our friend, is our treasure, is our teacher, is our guide. And we have been studying very interesting creational aspects here. Brahmaji getting upset and then he becoming angry, and out of his anger coming Rudradev, and then the 11 Rudras, and then the 11 Rudranis. Mahadev, actually first he creates one Rudrani, right? I mean, he says, and then Mahadev says, no, each one has to have a name. Then we read all the names of the Rudranis. And finally, you see, sometimes I was just thinking how the section of Srimad Bhagavatam shows that even Brahma's plan didn't go according to his plan. I mean, in his service. So sometimes we think, why my life is not going according to my plan? So he's like, that was never Brahma's plan, that Rudra, he will create Rudra, and then from Rudra, all the, all this will come out, like the Rudras and Rudranis. That was never his plan. So Krishna always has perfect plan. Okay, we are studying from My Dear Boys. Oh, yeah. As he did so, he placed the maiden's hand in that of her new husband. Yeah, you can end it there. My dear boys. Yeah, can one of you start reading, please?
Yes, sure. My dear boys, said Brahma happily, you may now go with your wives and take up residence in the 11 places I have designated for you. You shall be among the principal gods, and as such, I request that you assume responsibility for increasing the population on a large scale. Each Rudra stepped forward in turn, bowed deferentially to Brahma, and then vanished along with his wife. To Brahma's delight, he soon saw many children of a mixed blue and red complexion playing in the heavens. Their numbers increased rapidly year after year. Not only did they have the same bodily complexion as their fathers, but they were each as strong and furious in their natures. Each of these boys grew swiftly to adulthood, and like their fathers, accepted wives and procreated. Within a short time, the sons and grandsons generated from the 11 Rudras were unlimited in number. At first, Brahma was delighted to see the population increasing. However, soon he heard a tumultuous sound in the heavens, descending on his swan carrier. He saw hordes resembling his Rudra sons running riot, shouting defiantly and trying to devour everything in sight, with the fierce flames emanating from their eyes. Seeing this, Brahma became frightened. Just at that moment, one of them spotted Brahma. Flames of anger darted from his eyes, and he called to his companions, "Look, there is Brahma, let us devour him." "Flee, flee," Brahma ordered his swan carrier, who stretched his wings and flew as high and far as he could. Brahma prayed fervently to Vishnu for protection. His heart beat fast and sweat streamed from his 4 faces. Brahma's pursuers gave chase for some while, but unable to gain ground, they lost interest and turned their attention to easier targets. When he was clear of danger, Brahma ordered his carrier to take him to Mount Kailash, where the original Rudra lived with his wife. Seeing his father's swan carrier approaching, Rudra respectfully rose to greet him. He was startled to see Brahma looking perturbed and out of breath. Taking his father's outstretched hand, he helped him alight and offered him a seat. His wife approached and touched her father-in-law's feet, seeking his blessings. When they were seated, Rudra said, "Father, if you feel it appropriate, pray, tell me what has so disturbed you?" Tactfully, Brahma related all that had happened. "O best of the gods," he concluded, "there is no need for you to generate living entities of this nature. They have begun to devastate everything on all sides with their fierce fire shooting from their eyes, and they have even attacked me." Rudra drew in his breath, his face darkened with displeasure. Rising, he towered above his father. "You have created my nature, which is suited to destruction, and you have ordered me to produce children. So, how can you now find fault with me?" Wow. The situation was delicate. Concealing his apprehension, Brahma smiled kindly and spoke gently. "Sit, my son," he said affectionately, patting the seat next to him. "I'm not displeased with you. I have come to seek your shelter." Slowly, Rudra calmed himself and again sat next to his father. "You have an important role to play in the universe. You are empowered by Vishnu himself to destroy the worlds at the time of universal annihilation. For this reason, your disposition is suited for destruction. However, this is not the right time to demonstrate your nature. Right now, the Lord desires that we create the universe." The mention of Vishnu's name pacified Rudra. He became eager to learn how he might know Vishnu personally. Wow. Ah, my son, this is an admirable aspiration. You should know that only by penance can one approach Vishnu. This is so beautiful, right? We've been talking about
Yeah.
this. Like, wow, look at him again. Where does he reside? Because I think he learned it by his own experience, correct? In his own
Mm,
experience, it was penance, which ultimately gave him the darshan of the Mahavishnu, right? Garbhodaksha Vishnu, sorry. "Where does he reside?" asked Rudra. "An excellent question," replied Brahma. "Vishnu lives in the heart of every living being, at the same time beyond the reach of our bodily senses." "You mean, although he's very close, he's unattainable to those with uncontrolled senses?" asked Rudra. "Exactly so," replied Brahma. "Do good to yourself
mm.
and show the way of happiness to your many sons and followers by engaging yourself in penance. Thus, you will surely gain Vishnu's audience, just as I did previously." Rudra's face lit up with a broad smile. He rose and walked around his father 3 times to show his respect. Then, standing before
Mm.
Brahma with folded hands, he said, "O father, Lord of the Vedas, I accept your order. I shall immediately enter the forest to perform severe penance with a desire to see Lord Vishnu. Pray bless me with success." So sweet.
Really, really amazing. Let's pause there.
Yes.
Mm. This point here. However, this is not the right time to demonstrate your nature.
Mm.
Right now, the Lord desires that we create the universe. A reflection of that is also Mahadev is not by chance the Vaishnavanam Yathashambho. He's actually the topmost of the Vaishnavas. His focus is so much on not really on justifying, oh, my nature is to destroy, I'm going to just destroy. He's also Shutosha, he's always protecting even the most fallen, and what to speak of devotees, he's easily giving benediction to devotees, and there is the Shiva Ashtakam by Mahaprabhu, and in one of those paragraphs, Mahaprabhu says how he is actually the guru of all living entities, Mahadev. And then, of course, he says how there's nobody who relishes the holy name like Mahadev. Shri Ram Govinda Mukunda Shauri Shri Krishna Narayana Vasudeva Ityadi Namamritapana Bringadipaya Khila Dukka Hantre. So Mahadev has mastered the connection to the holy name. And I was also thinking the personality of Mahadev is more like an individualist, you know. Brahma is more like he has to be, of course, diplomatic and think of creation. And Mahadev is like, this is who I am. What do you expect me? My nature is like this. I'm creating these kind of people. So he's like individualist, you know. He's not like a diplomat. But we can learn from even the greatest devotee, Mahadev, that sometimes we can't justify, oh, this is my nature, but sometimes we have to grow. We have to be of service to Krishna and his devotees. It's not about us anymore, you know. The point is Krishna, the Krishna's pleasure, Krishna's satisfaction, and Krishna's plans. Yeah, and things are going to happen anyway, but do we want to be part of it? Do we want to be part of it? And what kind of credit we want for that? We want to, you know, yesterday I was listening to a lecture and it was speaking about the hardest thing to get is Krishna's attention, like personal attention. Of course, there's always Sthanam, Poshanam. In the Sthanam and Poshanam, Krishna is maintaining all the universes that's there. But to be able to be noticed by Krishna, that's only possible by bhakti. That's only possible if it's not about how much we know, it's not about how much we do, rituals that we do. It's actually about our consciousness, our intention, our love, and the gratitude with which we express to Krishna that thank you, Krishna, that you're using all your power and your beauty and your strength for me. You're using it for me in my life. Actually, I was overwhelmed thinking how Krishna sometimes participates in small things in our life, and we look at our life and say, that could have never happened without Krishna's plan and Krishna's hand and Krishna's mercy. And that's when, you know, that's when we love Krishna. That's how, what we say, that's why we love Krishna. Is not, oh, Krishna is the most powerful, you know, we should love him, otherwise there's no other way, you know, we should love Krishna because he's Supreme Lord. No, that's not the point. We love Krishna because he uses his supremacy for us, because he loves us. We love him. You know, there's such a simple conclusion of bhakta and what? Bhakta and Bhagavan. Any other thoughts?
So beautiful, you were saying it. Yeah. You were saying like it's so difficult to get Krishna's attention. Just like how bhakti itself is awarded by Krishna. Pure devotional service, and just devotion. Pure devotional service is awarded very rarely. That's why it's one of the characteristics of pure devotional service. 6 qualities very rarely attained, because Krishna gives himself to the person who has got this pure devotion. He just gives himself. Like how Vasudev Datta, right? For him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You can take me to any marketplace and sell me. I'm yours, Vasudev." Like, you know, your love has, your devotion, your love has purchased me completely, like that. So I was just, my thoughts are just going there.
Right.
Yeah, the way you said was so sweet. And one more thing that came to my mind was, like Lord Shiva, as soon as he hears about Vishnu's name, he was like so inquisitive. Like, you know, his heart is just there. He's like, I want to know where he is. How can I get him, like that? And then he's just asking, how can I get him? Like, you know, just that, the word. So that's why we are like, I mean, every time we are aware of this, that he's a topmost Vaishnava. Look at the way he is and how it all started for him. He just heard the name. He was so attracted. He wanted to know. And then he asked the right person, it's Lord Brahma, and he himself had attained it. Like a guru. I mean, of course, he's the father and also like the guru. In one sense, he's the father. In one sense, he is not, because Shiva Tattva, Brahma is like Jiva Tattva. Shiva is Shiva Tattva. It's completely different Tattva, right? It's just like a pastime. It happens like that, right? And then he's approaching him and he's telling this is penance, and immediately he's ready to do it, and he's taking blessings, seeking blessings from the guru, right? I was like, that's like amazing resolve, amazing one-pointed focused attention on the goal. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how sweetly you were saying, like he relishes chanting the names of the Lord. Yeah, we can see it. I mean, it's there in his heart. I mean, he is what he is. But then, just in this little pastime, also we can see like the way his attraction rose just by the name, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. Beautiful. And in fact, Mahadev is always busy relishing the holy names all the time. He's meditating on Krishna all the time. And that's why he's Ashutosha, because when people come and bother him with material desires, he doesn't have time. So he says, okay, you want this thing? Okay, go take it, go away. I'm chanting here, don't disturb me. And so that's the mood that Mahadev is like that. He's an avaduta, right? He's detached. He's in his trance. So, and I can't not mention this pastime of Brahma and Lord Shiva. So when Gauranga Mahaprabhu Katha, there was a Katha going on about Gauranga Mahaprabhu here in Navadvip Dham. And Mahadev really wanted to hear. He was so eager. But then he thought, oh my God, by the time I jump on Nandi and Nandi takes me to Navadvip, the katha will be over, the class will be over, prasadam will start. So I have to rush. So he went to Brahma and he said, please, can I borrow your swan? The swan is faster. By the way, there's a whole thing I read about this. What does it mean, the swan? It's not actually a personality. It's actually like a modern equipment. It's like an airplane, like that, the swan of Brahma. Anyway, so he borrows the swan actually, and from Brahma. Then he reaches very fast, very, very fast. He reaches here when actually there is this place called Hamsavahana. And he reaches there and he listens to the pastimes. So there's still a deity, big stone deity of a Hamsa, and then in the middle is Lord Shiva sitting there, and he arrives there like that. So there's still a deity. Traditionally, here in the village, they would keep this deity inside the water. There was a big pukur pond, so the deity was inside that pond all year around, and only like a few days in a year they'll keep the deity out, and everybody will come and worship and do the ceremonies, etc. But now, since I think a couple of years, that they did. Actually, why they used to do that was also to protect from the Muslim invaders who would steal the deity, etc. So they didn't want to risk it. They could not steal from that pond because it was protected. But now it's not that kind of danger. Right? So now they keep it out. The deity is out. You can go anytime to visit Savahana. Madhudrumadvi. Is it Madhyadvip? Madhyadvip or Madhudrumadvi? Yeah. Mahadev is very special. I think yesterday also I mentioned about demigods thing, but I feel to mention again now that sometimes in being in Vaishnava Sampradaya, ISKCON, Krishna consciousness, we tend to offend or not understand completely the relational dynamics. But as we can see here again and again, see how much affection Mahadev has for Shiva, see the relational dynamics between Mahadev and Brahma, and look at the relation between Brahma and Krishna. Everything is about relationships. There is, as much as the tattva aspect of the Siddhanta aspect of Krishna is a supreme personality, he has all these powers and he's this and he's that. As much as it is important, but it's also relevant for us to understand the rasa, the relationship between um, Brahma and Shiva being the grandson of Krishna, all these things. It's very important to understand these things as well, and live accordingly, and not to offend the demigods, but to understand that on a rasa level they're all like family. They are family. In India, you'll see them right in the altar. Sometimes there is Shiva, there is Ganesh, there is Vishnu, there is Krishna, there is Rama, and then there is Brahma. They keep all deities on the same level, right? And they may say, "Oh, why?" Actually, because they're family, and it's all right. So when family gathers, then we're all sitting in the same room, right? We're sitting on the same platform, etc. It's not so much about hierarchy at that point. Yeah, I just want to mention.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. I was also one of those people who did not have the right conception of Lord Shiva. And then slowly, after repeated hearing, I kind of understood he's Kshetrapal Shiva, and then how much of love he has for all of us. He's very happy when we are chanting Krishna's name. And then he does remove obstacles on our path. And when we are approaching him with without any desire of anything but anything material, right? He just he clears all obstacles to achieve devotion to Krishna. This is what I had heard, and I've in my life also I've seen that. So my respect, my respect for Lord Shiva has increased a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I was like a big offender. Like before, I don't know. Like I used to think like I used to think like he's a demigod like that. But he's a different category completely. Okay, thank you. He's a completely different category. He's,
I mean, it's very difficult to understand Shiva Tattva. For example, when you're paying obeisances, if you see somebody as a demigod, you pay obeisances from your right side. But if you see them as Vaishnava, you pay respect from the left side. So technical detail there. But the point is, we don't see Mahadev as demigod. We see him as the child. He's the grandchild of Krishna, and he is the Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu is the greatest of all the Vaishnavas. And as you said, he is most merciful to the devotees, especially because he facilitates our bhakti. He's a yogi. He's a parama yogi. There's no other yogi like Mahadev. Adi yogi. He's the original yogi. So yeah, Mahadev is very, very dear to Krishna, and therefore he is important for us. Without him, we can't reach Krishna. And I grew up in a Madhva family. So in Madhva family, like in our temples, yes, there is Srinivasa, Padmavati, Hanumanta, on there, and then there is Shiva on the left side, and then there's Ganesha on the right side, and in the middle, in the bottom, there is Raghavendra Swami. So, not only in this temple, in most of the Madhva temples. So there is very clear hierarchy of Krishna being supreme, and then there is Vayudev, who is also the Hari Saravottama Vayu Jivottama. Like he's the best of the jivas, and he is, he's the sustenance of our, even our breath is ruled by Vayudev, Hanuman. And then there is Shiva, who's the Kshetrapalaka, who's the Rasa Pradayaka. He's the one who gives us the taste for chanting the holy name, and the ability and the taste to study the pastimes. And he is, he's worshipped every single day. And they I grew up, and I still do it even myself. We keep Vishnu deity on top, like Kaliya Krishna, like the temple I grew up, they had a Kaliya Krishna deity, small one. They put that on Mahadev's head, and then they'll do Abhishek for Mahadev. They never do Abhishek alone to Mahadev. They always keep Vishnu deity on top of Mahadev. And that's how he's happy, right? Like that. And then there's Ganesh on the other side. He removes all obstacles on the path of our devotional service. And so what I'm saying is my relationship with Mahadev and Ganesh and all is very clear. There is no confusion. There is no sense of dilemma. Oh, maybe Mahadev is supreme or something. There's no confusion. It's very clear. Their positions, their hierarchy, their taratamya, we call it. It's very clear. At the same time, the affection, like Mahadev is like the uncle. Sometimes we feel more affection from the uncle than from Krishna. From the father. Like that, the whole relational thing. I grew up with that. So when I came to Krishna consciousness and I saw some devotees who were so scared to actually understand the right positions of these divinities, of these great devotees, actually. And then I found Suladis, different Vaishnavacharyas have written Durga Suladi, Vigneshwara Suladi. These are all like very important role descriptions of what Ganesha's role is in bhakti, what is Rudrani, what is Durga Devi's role in bhakti, like that. There are so many bhajans written clarify the position in this hierarchy, the roles that they play, and not just the roles that they play, but the bhakti that they have, and the relationship that they have with Krishna, the rasa that they have. Then there's a different explanation, different definition, different relation. So yeah, there are two ways of understanding, and we can only understand we can only get the whole picture if we understand together the tattva and the siddhanta aspect of it, and then the rasa aspect of it. We can't separate the rasa from the siddhanta, the theological truth, but then there's always a relational dynamics, which is personalism after all. Without that, how can we? That makes us like Mayavadis. If we think, oh, is only Krishna and we have to merge into him, we don't care about others. No, we actually put everything together as a puzzle piece. Any other points?
Nothing, Mataji.
Okay, we'll do a little more reading. I can read a little bit and then Rasastali Mataji can conclude. Brahma lifted his right hand in a gesture of blessing as he watched Rudra and his wife vanish into the dark forest. Brahma sighed in relief. Mounting his swan career, he returned to his own abode. Once there, he again pondered how to execute his responsibility of increasing the universal population. He had hoped Rudra would help him, but that plan had backfired. He needed to beget good sons who in turn would generate useful progeny. Soon, 10 more sons named Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Rigu, Vashishta, Daksha, and Narada were born. Vidura sat motionless in the heat of the midday sun, his attention riveted on Maitreya's narration. The local wildlife were making a raucous clamor, but neither man paid heed. Keen to hear more, Vidura asked, "How did Brahma generate these 10 sons?" Maitreya replied, "Narada was born from Brahma's power of deliberation, which is the best part of his body. Vasishta was born from his breathing, Daksha from his thumb, Bhrigu from his sense of touch, and Kratu from his hand. Pulastya was generated from Brahma's ear, Angira from his mouth, Atri from his eye, Marichi from his mind, and Pulaha from his navel." Vidura was fascinated. Did Brahma create anything or anyone else from his own body? Yes, from his breast, where Lord Narayan sits, Brahma manifested religion. From his back, he produced irreligion, due to which living beings are obliged to experience a fearful death. Lust came from Brahma's heart, anger from between his eyebrows, greed from his lips, the power of speech from his mouth, the ocean from his penis, and sinful activities from his anus, which is the source of all impiety. From Brahma's shadow appeared the great sage Kardama Muni, who later married Devahuti. Thus, everything in the universe appeared from either Brahma's body or his mind. Vidura raised his hands in wonderment. Brahma is inconceivably great. Why he seems practically as powerful as Vishnu himself? Maitreya demurred. No one, not even Brahma, can compare with Vishnu. Only Vishnu is impervious to lust. Vidura was doubtful. Brahma is the embodiment of Vedic knowledge. Surely lust cannot influence him. Hmm. Maitreya looked away, not wanting to catch Vidura's eye. Even the learned cannot always control lust. With a look of incredulity, Vidura exclaimed, "Are you keeping something from me, wise one?" Okay, Rasa Salimataji, would you like to continue this interesting conversation?
Okay. Dear Vidura, I have heard something I do not like to repeat out of fear of committing an offense. I tell you now only instruct you about the power of lust. Maitreya remained silent. Vidura's curiosity was aroused, but he said nothing. After a few moments, Maitreya said, "What I am about to tell you happened in a distant time. Indeed, great authorities say this incident occurred before Brahma was instructed in spiritual truths by Lord Narayana. Once more he hesitated. Finally, taking a deep breath, he said, "Please listen as I relate what occurred." Brahma gazed at the exquisitely beautiful maiden who had emerged from his body. His eyes widened with desire as he admired her faultless form. The girl senses her father's inappropriate mood, said, "My lord, I am your daughter Vak. How is it that you are conjually attracted to me?" Brahma breathed heavily. He moved towards Vak, who transformed herself into a hind and quickly fled. Taking the form of a stag, Brahma gave chase. Some of his sons, headed by Marichi, were nearby and saw what was happening. They looked at one another in surprise. Surely with great father could not be victimized by lust. Was he trying to teach them about the danger of mixing freely with the opposite sex? By their mystic power, Brahma's sage sons rose into the sky and quickly followed their father. Seeing them looking down on him from the sky, Brahma felt ashamed and gave up the chase, changing back into his own form. With utmost respect, Marichi approached him and said, "O father, this act in which you are endeavoring to implicate yourself was never attempted by any other Brahma, nor by anyone else, nor by you in previous kalpas, nor will anyone dare to attempt it in the future. You are the supreme being in the universe. So, how is it you wish to have sex with your daughter and cannot control your desire?" Brahma turned away, saying nothing. His sons glanced at each other nervously. Then another of them spoke. "Of course, father, for you there is no sin, no matter what you do. You are so powerful that no act can taint you. Just like the sun is not contaminated when it evaporates water from a filthy place." Brahma seemed somewhat uppleased. He half turned back to his nervous sons and indicated they could speak freely. The second sage continued, "Please consider, O Great One, that you are the spiritual master of all living beings, and thus your conduct and character set the ideal which others will follow. Therefore, we humbly request that you kindly desist from this behavior." Brahma's face darkened with displeasure and he again turned away. The sages moved away from their father and conferred. Plainly, Brahma was not to be dissuaded from his determination to enjoy Vidvak. They knew that Vishnu was their only resort. Bowing their heads and folding their hands, they prayed, "We offer our respectful obeisance to the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who has produced this universe from his own effulgence and situated it within his own body. May he protect religion for the good of all." Hearing his son's sincere prayer, Brahma's heart changed. A sense of remorse overcame him, and he cast off his previous disposition. The lusty temperament that Brahma shed appeared like a thick fog which cast everything into darkness.
Okay, we'll pause
As
there. Oh God, that's a very intense story there.
very heavy.
I know.
It's very scary also, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like the power of lust. Like, wow.
It reminds me, sometimes people who are like kings or like kind of Brahma's responsibility on their head, so much stress. And then they're trying to, imagine Brahma has the power to create children on his own, it's like no other, which other human being can just create children from his eyebrows and from his different parts of his body. Like he's so powerful. But at the same time, we are people, right? We're humans. I mean, we have emotions, we are jivas.
Mhm.
So there's always a sense of that pressure. And I'm thinking about this aspect of lust, etc. Ultimately, it's like unfulfilled needs and desires is what is becomes lust, and then it becomes into anger. So the need for connection, the need for companionship, the need for intimacy, right? That's what causes that. And I'm just thinking, it's like what a task Brahma was engaged in, right? First of all, started in a tough life. Started with austerity and everything, so much tapa and everything, and figuring out who he is, what his role is. And then once he figures out what his role is, like, wow, there's like so much to be done. And then he starts to create, wanting to create children, and those children don't want to get married. And then the Kumaras say, no, we want to be Kumaras. We don't want to get married. Sorry. Brahma is disappointed, and then he gets angry. And then, of course, Shiva comes, and then the kids of Shiva are like, creates another havoc. And then he doesn't know what to do. And then he finally, there's some sort of uh, sometimes men, especially the male species, they kind of need that release of the women. We seek affection and emotional connection in a different way, more subtle way. For men, it's very much about gross lust, right? That's the way they try to like relieve their angst and anxiety, like that. And it's not easy even for Brahma. And yeah, I remember Concept often says that like even great people, like like including Brahma, have this need, and then they can have a slip. They can have a slip, and so we cannot think that we are above it, and we cannot how do you say it? Force ourselves to be on a level to give up all these things. I mean, we some of us may not have that as a challenge. Some of us may have that as a challenge. But the point is to understand that this is not easy thing, even for great sages and all. They also had their fall downs, etc. So lust is very, very, very strong, and so we can't judge people this bhakti just based on their lusty desires. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean that somebody who doesn't have any lusty desires because of their personality type or something, it doesn't mean they're more pure. And if somebody does have some lust as a challenge or lust as need, etc., it doesn't mean they're less than the others. So that's another important realization I've had. Controlling of senses itself is not an indicator of bhakti, because for some of us it may not be a challenge. Like usually for women, it's not such a great challenge. For men, it is, and even among them, there are different personality types. Mm. Yeah. We'll pause there for today, and then we'll continue tomorrow. What happens, because this is already a lot to digest, especially figuring out. Even among it's ISKCON leaders or something, when people have trouble, we just become like, how they can. And it's not such a great surprise. The problem is when we wear masks and pretend going around that we don't have these troubles and these challenges, then it's a problem. Of course, these are another level, right? It's another level of Krishna showing what it is. But it should have been so embarrassing for Brahma when the sun caught him, right? Like looking down upon him, and Brahma is like, "What am I doing?" No, must have been really embarrassing. It's humbling. It's humbling. That's the point. And look at our weaknesses. We're humbled. All right. If you have no other comments, we can end here.
I was thinking it's also like so so amazing that Maitreya is actually sharing this with Vidura, right? So I think this can also serve for all of us, like Bhagavatam readers, when we see fall downs, when we see this, like, you know, and we are judging people like, 1 second, Mata. So it's like we don't have to like exactly like we don't have to be so harsh. This is the this is the I think like this the nature of this place also, right?
Yeah. The modes of nature. Only
Yeah.
Krishna doesn't get influenced by it.
Mm. Yeah, Shiva also demonstrates that, right?
Exactly.
Murti comes, right, you know, and then he'll run behind Mohini Murti, and then his own, what do you call, followers are witnessing it, and still Shiva runs. And then he's like, you know, at the end, he's like, he's not even feeling ashamed. The reason is, he's like, yeah, there's only one person who's above all this lust, and that's Krishna. So by me doing this, you need to understand, being all my followers or whatever, that even I am not doing this. It's only Krishna who can, you know, who is about this, like that, just to demonstrate. And like, that itself is like so courageous and so, as you said, transparent, and it's amazing.
Authentic. Yeah. And two things I was thinking, Mahadev, I mean, come on, one thing is to be attracted to Mohini Murti, who wouldn't, right? In the
Yeah.
sense, like Krishna, right? And it's his will to, and Mahadev is attracted to Krishna. So, you know, in one sense, right, it doesn't even seem like a fall down. It just seems even love for God, even in a woman's form, right? But another thing I was also thinking is, like you were saying, we shouldn't be too harsh, but be more understanding about the limitations of the jiva. Um, I was also thinking how this, what was it? I lost the train of thought. One thing is this, about it being Krishna, and the other thing is,
Hare Krishna, we can't hear your voice, Mata.
yeah, I'm trying to gather the thought about Brahmaji, which was his own creation, right? It was his own. Oh yeah, about embarrassment. Um, yeah, I mean, whenever we make mistakes, the difference between Shiva and Brahma and us is that we try to cover it up, we try to hide it, we try to justify it, we try to like fake it, right? We like to kind of show the best side of ourselves and be respected for that, be honored for that. And then when we get caught with some weakness, we try to like feel so embarrassed to be in the same community, or even as a community, we ostracize people for certain errors, right? Certain errors all life. You know, we always remember them as the one who had that fall down or something, you know. We kind of like identify the individual with their weakness. But actually, these things can be the greatest spiritual and spiritually elevating situations, because we become humble, the masks are gone, and we're being seen for our weak sides. That's actually supposed to be community, like what we do, like emotional support groups, where we speak about our the deepest, darkest fears, and the dark sides. We deal with the dirty corners of our hearts and clean it, and come out more humbled, come out more real, like honest. And it's not usually the style or the system. It's not usually emphasized so much. What is emphasized usually is like you'll have to look pure. It's not so much about be pure. It's so much about maintaining the image. It's so much about socially you have to look acceptable. The focus is so much on externally maintaining it, and therefore within families, within individual relationships, things are quite tense. But then maybe on the outside, it's like I'm even thinking, like sometimes it's this human world, like we have to be accepting of it. That's what I'm saying. Like even like among the great sannyasis and GBCs, they have difference of opinion, they fight, they of course they are on a different level than us, etc. They're living more austere life, etc., etc. But at the same time, when we see them having difference of opinion, there's nothing to feel bad or losing faith, because this is the nature of this world, and they will have their own ego issues. They may, the human psychology may make them, no, I'm right. No, my version of Prabhupada is right. No, my version of Prabhupada is right. So we can get caught up in that. And it's not a great surprise. It's part of being human. And lust can manifest in so many subtle ways. It's not just running after a woman's body. You can run after fame, you can run after me and mine, and you can run after whatever, right? All those subtle forms of lust.
Yeah, so true. Lust means, I used to always think it's just the boy girl thing is lust. And then slowly I realized lust is not just that. Anything that you want to enjoy separately from Krishna, that's lust.
Yeah.
And the point which I really liked is what you were saying of how we are like pretending and giving an image, outside to the outsiders, and inside it's like you could really see the faces, right? I've also observed it so much. To outside world, we're painting a very nice picture, but inside we know who we are. Like they say, right? Your character is known by what do you do when nobody's watching you, right? That
Trying
shows
to hide here.
that shows
Yeah.
what you really are and who you really are.
There can be so many different kinds of forms of the lust, Very nicely described.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to share something, Mataji, if you can take out the share.